Well, it finally happened. If you read the title of the video, you would know exactly what we're getting ready to talk about. Um, we are going to discuss the fact that pedophile Joe Biden has dropped from the election. And this has some serious implications, I'm sure you're aware. And with this being a thoughts and opinions video, I figured what better way than to give some of my thoughts and opinions for us to munch on for a little bit, right? Um, so when I say there's some serious implications, what do I mean? What I mean is that there are two major issues that I can think of off the top of my head that are carried with him dropping. And I say he's dropping, but really we don't know if he dropped because the way we found out was from a picture on Twitter and it had his signature, but it was a forgery because it doesn't match any of his recorded signatures on file. So it was a forgery, and we know it was a forgery. So just keep in mind when I say he dropped out, it was not of his own volition. Okay, he did not sign off that he was leaving the race. But what issues come with this? Okay, and I want to just, before I get into that, I want to say this is completely off the script. I found out about this earlier today. I've been doing a lot of yard work and housework, so had no time to prepare anything for this. So be ready for an off-the-rails and unhinged type of video because this is going to be kind of everywhere. So I'm going to try to stay on track. There's going to be definitely a lot of hand gestures because I'm Italian. It's just what we do. And you're going to have a lot of pauses and uhs, kind of like Jeff Goldblum. So just prepare for that and plan accordingly. So the first issue that I can think of is how this dropping from the race violates so many voters' rights because people already voted. The delegates and all that stuff, it's already official. He essentially gets the nomination. You know, I don't know how many people actually went out and voted for him. I don't know the exact numbers. I don't care to kind of look that stuff up because it really isn't relevant to what I need to know. But regardless of the numbers, he is primed to get the candidacy regardless. He was one of the main people running. There was like some stragglers kind of, getting like 1%, 2%, nothing in comparison to the, 8 dozen votes that Biden got. But it still mattered that when he dropped out, all the people that voted for him, that they say, hey, we want this guy to be our candidate, just got told your vote didn't matter. Okay, now think about that for just a couple seconds there. You got told your vote didn't matter. I don't know what more to say to that other than you should be absolutely furious, right? I mean, if it was me personally, like if it was me and I went out and voted for somebody and then they got forced out of the race because the party didn't want them and they got forced out, I would be absolutely mad because my vote didn't matter for anything. Now, you might say, oh, well, that's how it goes. You vote and the better person wins. Okay, yeah, Biden in this case won. Now, I'm not going to give him a compliment in any way. I'm not going to say he was the better person because Biden's a terrible person. He's scum. But regardless of my opinion, he won. He had the majority of votes for the Democratic Party. You, the people, if there's any liberal people watching this right now, he got the votes. So him dropping out just suddenly says your opinion is null and void. So I think to me as a individual, someone who is a red, white, and blue-blooded American who really cherishes and values, the ideals of American society and that we have our freedoms, our rights, unalienable and otherwise. It's just, it bothers me. And like, I'm a Trump supporter because, Trump is actually pro-American and he actually cares about the American citizens versus the other guy who can't even spell the word Tuesday. It's just, I get kind of offended, not even offended, I'm just concerned for you, any liberals out there, because if it was my vote taken away, I would 100% be just livid. I'd be on fire, just filled with anger, and resentment towards the party that just told me I need to sit down and shut up. And that's essentially what's going to start happening now, because I don't know when the DNC takes place. The DNC, I think, is in 5 weeks. 5 weeks, I think. They're going to have to pick a new candidate. Now, I have suspicions, of course. I have suspicions on who I think it's going to be. And I'll get to that point in a second of who I think it is. But I just want to make sure it's understood by the viewers, like by you people, viewing this video right now, that if you did vote for Biden, you just got told you didn't matter. It was never your choice, and that you just need to accept it and just wait for further instructions. Does that not make anyone mad? Like, I'm seriously asking. I'm genuinely confused if this is something that doesn't make people mad. Maybe I was just raised in different times, where if someone tells you, you don't matter, you never mattered, and in this thing where votes matter, and we're just now saying your vote doesn't matter, does that not make anyone mad anymore? I don't know. This is also, and my table keeps shaking, I apologize. This is also, to my knowledge, the first time in, I think, documented history that a president of the United States was running for re-election and dropped out near the end. Like, we've had presidents before running, and like, the election would kick off and they were due to have a re-election, and they just said, like, at the beginning, they're like, oh, by the way, I am not pursuing a re-election. I'm not pursuing it. I don't want it. Pick your candidate who you want. That has happened before. Absolutely. Yes. I'm not saying it's not happened. But what I'm saying has never happened is this whole president, or let's say sitting president, in this case, installed president, because they cheated 2020. It's a fact. Just look it up. You have a president who was installed. They did their term. They're due to try to get reelected. So they do most of the campaigning, right? They do most of this campaign. They get right here close to the end. They're like right there, close to getting the nomination at the DNC or the RNC, whichever it happens to be in this case. It just is hypothetical. And then suddenly they're like, oh, by the way, I'm out. I don't want it now. Like, all the votes are done. Everyone who was in has already dropped out. There is no one left to take the mantle. There's no one to take the place of the person who just dropped out. The person who dropped out was the last, the whole thing of survival of the fittest, or in the case of the DNC, it's survival of the most funded. Yeah, that's really all that happened, was that now that he's gone, your votes mean nothing, and now they get to pick who they want to be president, or who they want to choose to try to get presidency. And so now we get to the part where I said, I think I understand, or I think I know who they're going to pick. I think they're going to put Camilla in as vice president again. And I say that because they obviously don't want her. She is uneducated. She is very much mentally deficient in all her own ways. And plus, I'm pretty sure her knees are tired of being bruised all the time, sitting there, working that mouth to get those promotions. Okay? Just, it's a fact. Look it up. That's how she gets where she that's how she got where she is from working a little bit of overtime on them streets for the rich guys. But the reason she would be their pick for vice president is because there is $250 million on the line from donations, or from donors, if she is not on the ticket. So she has to be. If she's not on the ticket, the Democrats, the DNC, loses $250 million. Now, I don't know about you, but, to me, $1 million is quite a lot of money. So now give me, give me 1,250 times. I'm going to not only be a really happy guy, but I'm going to sit there and really be happy. I'm going to be extra happy. And to the DNC, to the, to the left and even to the right, this is kind of chump change. This is like a drop in the bucket, really, of money that they've gotten before. But we're talking about politicians here. They want every single drop in their bucket. They don't want to miss one solitary drop, because that drop is still somehow important. Now, it's important on the left side because they like to embezzle all their money, and the right side likes to have all that money because they like to do lobbying. It's just the way it goes, okay? And so they don't want to lose $250 million, even though the donors already said, get Biden out and we will make up the 250. Sorry, my camera keeps shaking. But they've already said, get him out and we'll compensate the 250. So they really don't have to pick Camilla. They're going to, because it's just the easy choice. The Democrats are all about doing things the easy way, which is, cheat, lie, intimidation, and just outright bribery. All right? That's how the Democrats run their elections. And so I think the easiest thing for them would be to keep Camilla as vice president, despite her protests, which I guarantee she's not going to be happy. But I think they're going to run someone else as president. I don't know specifically who. I'm not claiming to know who. But there's been some theories that I saw online today, and I just want to kind of put them out there, and then, we can discuss this part in the comment section of, who we think, and, what evidence do we have, or not even what evidence, but, why would they be the best choice in this case? I saw one person say it's going to be Gavin Newsom. One person says it's going to be Hillary Clinton. One person says it's going to be Michelle Obama. And the other person just named Bernie Sanders. I don't know why. He hasn't been relevant, since the 30s. So I really don't know why he's involved in the list. But, oh well. People were thinking about it. But regardless, I think it is going to be a Harris and somebody ticket. They're going to get that 250. They're going to embezzle it. They're going to pocket that money in their offshore Chinese bank accounts. And then they're going to just keep going like they normally do. They're going to plan the next 4 years. I suspect they're going to pick Gavin Newsom. And the reason I think they're going to pick Gavin Newsom is because he's the least controversial, and he's also the most easily controllable. For one, he was willing to clean up San Francisco for China. Not the American people, definitely not the people living in San Francisco. In fact, he took the homeless people and he took them in, I don't know if he put them in crates or buses or whatever, but he got them out of San Francisco. He got rid of all the homelessness. And that way the street was nice and clean and had no vagrants and no homeless people. So that way it looked nice and clean for China. Okay? That's bad on its own that he did this for China. It's bad. It's also bad that he sat there and just relocated a bunch of homeless people who probably didn't consent to being relocated, right? But as bad as those two things are, that's not as bad as, say, Hillary Clinton, where she acid washed a hard drive that was subpoenaed. She deleted 32,000 emails that was subpoenaed. Bill Clinton met on the tarmac with somebody who he shouldn't have been on the tarmac with. Hillary Clinton also got the questions to the debate ahead of time, so that way she could have her answers already made. The list can go on. The Steele dossier, they already proved that Hillary Clinton's campaign paid for it. Again, the list goes on. She is controversy embodied. Okay, she is the embodiment of controversy. They're not going to run her. They don't feel safe with her. Even though she can, she can take a charity and she can tornado up, or hurricane up or whatever, twister. It's relevant apparently now again. She can make money out of nothing apparently. Yeah, she would be a good bet for someone who wants to make money. But she's not safe to put as a candidate for presidency, especially since she's just going to get her butt whooped again to the same guy who beat her in 2016. I mean, it's just a given. So it's not going to be Hillary. It would be stupid. I can see them doing it just because they're out of options, and she probably has dirt on everybody that she has leeway to force them into it, but I still don't think it's a good idea. One person said it's going to be Michelle Obama. First off, Michelle Obama has already said he didn't want it. And yes, I said he because Well, you know the jokes, you know the theories that are out there, and I'm just gonna say the fact that Michelle Obama never wanted to be caught in a bikini at the beach means that there's something down there in the man area, right? So just saying, you know, coincidence, maybe coalition. No, not coalition, collation. My bad. Correlation and causation, maybe not the same, but you know, just it's a weird coincidence. You know what I mean? But regardless, Michelle doesn't want it. Plus, they have that nice cushy deal with Netflix, getting like, was it $1 million a year, $2 million a year? They're getting a lot of money a year. And if Michelle takes the job as president, that means that they have to accept the president wage, which is like $400,000 a year. And why accept, you know, like 600,000 less, right? You know, especially when you have been proven to be a money grub or a money hungry grubber, okay? Someone who just devours money. So it's not going to be Michelle because she likes money too much. They're not going to get rid of that cushy deal with Netflix. The only way I can see them doing that is, and I'm going to call it right now, if it is Michelle, this is how they're going to do it. Obama is going to get the contract, and even though Obama can't have the contract, they're going to just put the money in their offshore Chinese bank account, and the money's just going to be deposited regularly there, and they'll just keep the deal going for them because, you know, they're the Obamas, you know. Who do you think you're messing with by taking away their money, right? And I know it seems like I'm bashing on the Democrats a lot, and I am. It's because the Democrats really are just the most intolerant and insufferable people to be around, at least the radical ones. I met a couple nice liberals, ones that actually were respectful and actually understood that no one's going to agree with everything they say, absolute. So yeah, there are some nice ones. So I just like getting my jabs in because it's the only fair thing to do. But this is also a thoughts and opinions video, so I do need to be fair, and I do need to try to represent everything at least fairly and accurately, right? So going on 17 minutes, yeah, I gotta wrap this up. This is just a big deal because as nice and as great news as this is for people who was running against the Democrats, you know, this is amazing news. You know, Joe dropping out. It's great news, and I hope with sincere, I do hope with some ounce of sincerity, how about let's put it that way, that he does get the mental help he needs to fight the dementia that he is clearly suffering from and has been suffering from for over 6 years now, because not even 6 years. Well, maybe. He's been suffering with it for a while, and it's been slowly getting worse, and doctors all over the world have called it out, saying he has dementia. So let's not beat around the bush, and let's just accept the fact that he has it, and he needs professional help. And even though I hate him and would like to see him sitting there, you know, no longer with us, I have to put aside my hatred for the man for at least a couple seconds to say I really do hope that when he steps down and he leaves office, he can get at least the help he deserves, and he can at least live the rest of his life in relative peace, because I'm sorry, watching him get puppeted around really angers me, because this is a man who cannot defend himself from what's happening, and no one is trying to stop it. You know, even the Republicans, the major Republicans, were sitting there saying that this is abuse of an elderly person and that it needs to stop, and no one thought to intervene and stop it. Okay, they're just doing what the internet does best. Call out the problem, but don't solve the problem, right? And you can see I was doing the hand gestures. So it's just a problem because you just got told your votes don't matter. And now we're going to get a random nominee for the ballot. And now this is where I ask you, who do you think is going to get the nomination? Do you think it's going to be Camilla and then somebody as her VP? Or do you think it's going to be somebody with Camilla as their VP? It could be swapped. It doesn't matter. But, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to take place? How is the DNC going to work? Because this is not something that's happened before. This particular scenario, right? This is brand new, and even the the news media is trying to ask questions of how does this continue? What is the next step? Because this has not happened before. So what do you think's going to happen? Do you think the DNC is going to sit there and pick a president, or you think they're going to just nominate Camilla and have her pick a VP? And then what happens after that? The DNC is in 5 weeks, and then it's only like a month and a half, 2 months, right, until the election, right? So 2 months, let's say, I think it is 2 months until election after the DNC, and you're just supposed to blindly support a person you didn't initially vote for, a person you didn't initially consider to be president, right? So again, if it was me, I would be angry. And I understand there's not going to be people that are as angry as I would be, because there are some people that are just conditioned to accept this type of situation as normal. But let me just assure you, it is not normal for this to happen. This is the first time something like this has happened. So you do have the right to stop and say, hey, wait a minute. Why are we doing it this way? Why was this not done sooner? Why wasn't this done during the voting phase when we actually had a fair chance to put in who we really wanted? You know, they knew from that time that he wasn't fit to be president. They knew at that time he was suffering from dementia. They could have easily taken him out, made him leave, or made him step down from the running, and then had you fairly pick who you wanted. But they didn't do that. They decided to let him run the whole way, get right there next to the DNC, kick him out, and now for 5 weeks, you don't know who is going to be the nominee until the DNC, and then you don't know who's going to be president, you don't know who's going to be vice president. You have no clue. All right? So, I would be mad. You can be mad. You might not be mad. If you're not mad, let's put it this way. It's 21 minutes, actually getting maybe 22 minutes. So let's wrap up the video with a simple question. With a question and then one thing I do want to get out of the way. The question being, are you a liberal and are you upset with Biden dropping out? You know, I know with me bashing Democrats and liberals and stuff like that, you might feel like you're not welcomed here, that you might not have a chance to say what you want to say, but I encourage you, I welcome you to write down, are you a liberal and are you disappointed or satisfied with Biden dropping out? You don't even have to say you're liberal. You can just say I'm disappointed or I'm satisfied, and then give your reason why. You know, because to anyone that's new watching these videos, the whole point of thoughts and opinions is that I share my opinions, right? I have thoughts on things, I have opinions on things, and I would like to share them. But that's not why they started, okay? That's not why this whole thing started. This all started a while ago when YouTube decided, and it wasn't YouTube itself, it was YouTube creators, let's say. YouTube creators, Redditors, and Twitter, I don't know what you call them, Twitter twits, I don't know. Basically influencers were controlling what people could say to them or in their channels, right? So if you mentioned a certain person's name, then you got banned. You weren't allowed to say, you know, yeah, this person did something bad, but can we remember the good times that we had with this? You were banned. It didn't matter. You got banned. You can't mention their name. You can't reminisce about the good times. You can only blindly hate them, is how that went. That was the agenda they were pushing. And it was over a controversial video of mine over Ryan Haywood versus Jane Doe, not John Doe. Yeah, man, Ryan, but Jane Doe. People were saying on Reddit, Twitter, and YouTube, you cannot say his name or else you get banned. And it made me think, why can't a person express themselves freely? Why is that a problem? If you need to say his name, you need to say his name. You know, I don't condone what he did. I never have, never will. But you can still say his name. You know, to sit there and try to erase his name is unfair to everybody, because there's some of us who weren't ready to, I guess, accept it yet, that it was happening and that there was nothing we can do about it, right? So I saw this. I saw people sitting there saying, you can't question this, you can't question that, you can't look into this, you can only hate him and only him, and you can't even mention his name. And they're like, if you want to refer to him, you have to refer to him as this name. And it was really derogatory. And I saw that. And so I thought, well, why don't I make a video on it, sharing my thoughts and my opinions on it? And then I do the opposite, right? I welcome people to come in and share their opinions because it's the only fair thing to do. You have every right to share your opinion. I mean, you have the right to have one, so it's only fair that you get the right to express it. And the point of these videos is to welcome you in and allow you to feel safe to say what you want to say. It doesn't matter if you agree or disagree with me. I actually welcome people who disagree with me, because if you disagree, maybe I will learn something, right? Maybe I'll learn something new that maybe I didn't take into consideration. Maybe I missed some information somewheres and I didn't know something, and that could change my whole perspective on the situation. I don't know until someone disagrees with me and says, hey, did you take this into consideration? And I can say, no, I did not. Thank you for telling me. And even if you disagree with me, there's no reason we can't be civil about it and just talk about it, right? You know, so much of online today is shouting and pointing fingers and accusing other people of being something they might not be, and then just not talking, you know? And I'm going to kind of make myself sad here, but one of the things my dad said before he passed away, it was about a week before he passed, the hospital we went to had like one of them like preachers, deacons, and kind of things like that in it. It was a holy hospital. It basically was like part of a church and whatnot. And the pastor guy came in and he was talking with my dad, and he did a sermon, and then my dad kind of did one of his own. And what he was talking about was that people don't talk anymore. He goes, too many people are engrossed in their phones, their computers. They're too engrossed in things that doesn't involve talking. And now we're just pointing fingers and shouting, and we're trying to shout over each other. And he goes, and no one's willing to just sit down and talk. And so that is even more a driving force behind these videos now more than ever, because he was right. People don't talk anymore. We are so focused on pointing fingers and saying, you're bad, your candidate is bad, and you're just like them. So if I think he's a Nazi, you're a Nazi. Or if I think they're Stalin, then they're Stalin and you're Stalin support. You know, we accuse and we throw words around, but we don't actually sit down and discuss the differences. So if you disagree with anything I say, I am more than welcoming for you to come in and say, I don't agree, and here's why. Because then I can say, well, I appreciate your opinion, but here's why I disagree with what you say. And then we can go back and forth, and it can be civil, it can be mutual, it can be respectable, or respectful, my bad, it can be respectful. And that's the way it should always be. Instead, we have people saying, if you don't agree with me, you're banned, you're not allowed to be here. And that's not the point of social media. Social media is supposed to get us all together, to not unite us, but to allow us all to link together, to all have access to this information and to chat with people we otherwise would never normally get to chat with. And now it's being used to say, if you're not part of our group, then you can't come into our group. You know, if you don't think like us, you're not welcome here. And that's not what it's supposed to be. Not everyone thinks alike. Not everyone agrees with every little detail. You might agree with 60% of what a person says and then say, well, this 40% right here, I really don't follow. I don't like that part. And that is just as valid as what that person was saying. You know, you're valid just as much as they are valid. You're valid as much as I am valid. All right. So I know that kind of went off the rails. I know this video is far longer than it really needed to be for a thoughts and opinions video. But it's just, I want to drive home here at the end that you matter, and they just told you you didn't. And you should be mad. And if you're not, I would like to know why. What's the process going on in your head that's telling you you shouldn't be mad, or you shouldn't be offended, or that this wasn't a slide towards you. I want to understand the logic and the reasoning. And if you are mad, vent it out, let it go. Let's engage and let's talk about it. And hopefully, we can all get along and talk about it together in a really good way. And if you're someone who agrees with everything I said, you're still just as welcomed as everyone else, because maybe you know something more that I didn't know, and you could share, really relevant and creative information that maybe I missed or I neglected to mention, right? So if you have anything to contribute to the comment section down below, it doesn't matter how minute, how small, how minor you think it may be, it is a major importance here, and it is very much valid and welcome. And I think with that, I am going to end it for this video. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.